and we're now in the last stages of the letter of intent review process. Many of you already received a decision on that. If you haven't yet, it's just because you're part of our second review, right? So we actually do this in stages. We'll review them 3 times to make sure that we don't miss any great ideas, right? So if you haven't received an answer, it's because we're not ready to say no, right? And the third phase now is going to be the full proposal submission that you'll make. And right now, our deadline for that is Friday, March the 31st. Now, today's workshop is really, or conversation is really about giving you as much support and guidance and answering all your questions so that you can do the best job you can for the full proposal submission. If we stick to the timeline that we have right now, then we are really working backwards from a Friday, April 21st date to make the decisions. And then that will allow us to start disbursing, that is to start sending, your funding in installments as early as June. Now, a successful project is going to receive up to 362,500 Canadian over 5 years, but that amount may vary. That's why it's up to, right? It won't be more than that, but it could be a bit less. So it's going to vary based on the funding needs of the project as determined by the internal review process. So the considerations would be, in Santiago, I see you. So actually, let me just pause because Santiago has a question. You want to ask your question now?
Sure. Hi, everyone.
Yeah,
I just want to clarify something. So you stated that the 360K were for the 5 years, but I was almost certain that on the application it said that this was for the first 3 years, and then if the project needed went on to the second phase, that had additional funding. And I'm almost sure that's what it says on the website also. But I just wanted to if you could clarify this, and if this is what it is, then it's fine. But I think there might be something amiss between what you're saying now and what's on the website. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what it said previously.
Mm-hmm. So is that somebody else said that's what they saw previously?
Yes, I was just Ronald here. So I was saying, yes, in the initial phases, that's what it read on the website. And this was the first 3 years. Thanks.
So currently we have a funding envelope of 5 years, right? And that funding envelope allows us to do this first call. It's true that we want to do another call. That is true, right? But right now, the funding that we're contemplating is this 362,500 in Canadian funds. So it's not necessarily a tension between those two things, because I'm just talking about our first cut of funding right now, right? So it's possible that we get other funding and we have other phases to this. So I understand the confusion, and my apologies. I think we're talking about phases at two different levels, right? Right now, I'm talking about phases within this first call, right? So just think of this as call number 1. So you can have funding for up to 5 years, right? So it's going to depend on the project. Maybe your project requires only 4 years of funding, right? Only 3 years of funding. So I think so it's because I'm using phases in a way that was used differently. But right now we have this first call that we're doing for projects, and we have up to 5 years in terms of the funding we provide. To the extent that we secure other funding and we have another call, you can always, and you will be encouraged, and we will reach out to you and say, do you want to apply for that second phase or that second call? Let's call it a call as opposed to a phase. Okay, hopefully that helps. So at this particular time, this call will give the successful applicants access to up to 362,500 Canadian. So of course, in your different countries, this will translate to different currencies, right? And up to 5 years is probably what I should have put instead of over 5 years. Now, the specific amount that is received for the successful applicants will be based on the internal review of the AI for PEP, by the AI for PEP review process. So you might need a bit less, right? So what are some of the examples when you might need less? Well, operationally, you may have not fully justified the need for the full amount. But it could also be, as the executive director, Professor Kong, said at the top of this call, you may also want to partner, right, with another team. And then the two teams may not need 2 times 362, as an example, right? So I can say that, as part of our review of the letter of intent so far, it seems to us that there's some opportunities for collaborations that would make for even better projects. And to the extent that that's the case, we will let you know, hey, that's what we're thinking. But what do you think? It's obviously your decision. Now, in terms of the disbursements themselves, that's to say, the actual transfers of funding from us to you, that will start as early as June. But however, the big however here is we cannot disperse any funds until we have full executions of what we call a contribution agreement between our university, York University, and your institution. So one of the things that you can help us with as we get closer to that moment is to make sure that the people in your institutions that manage these kinds of contracts are aware, right? And that they're ready to engage with us. So we're already drafting these contribution agreements right now because we want, as soon as the successful applicants are identified, we want to start engaging your institution, right? So that we can make sure that there's as little delay as needed, so that we can start the disbursements. We're excited about transferring these funds. We have them on the behalf of the successful applicants, and we'd like to see a substantive work start this summer, right? So, but we may need your support in terms of identifying, people in institutions that can go quickly. And Mark, you're putting your hand up at the right time because we are at the Q&A segment. So go ahead. We can't hear you, Mark, but I see a nice smile.
Yeah, thank you, Jacques.
Awesome.
And actually, it's a question I was discussing earlier with Iriswa. You talked about something really, really important, to team up with other ideas.
Yes.
It would be nice for us and helpful to have overview of submitted ideas and to see which one we can team up, which one we can make a synergy. Maybe we can even collapse some ideas at regional level, country level. I don't know.
Yes.
But we don't have this overview. We don't have.
No, it's true. It's true. No, thank you, Mark. I think you're making an excellent point because, of course, I have the benefit, and we have the benefit of seeing all the applications, right? And of course, you don't have that. Well, so Dr. Bragazzi is going to be joining us, if he's not already online, and making a presentation. He's going to drill that. Are going to drill down on what can strengthen the application, and they also led the internal review that allowed us to identify where there are opportunities for collaboration. So if you haven't already, you will receive from the team some of our suggestions. We will put you in touch with teams that from the LOI submissions indicate that there may be some synergies. So we'll position as like, this looks to us like there may be some synergies, right? And then we'll give you the opportunity to have conversations directly. Okay, Mark?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much,
Awesome.
Jacques.
Thank you for a great question. That's a great question. Other questions? I can't always see your hands, so I apologize.
Jean-Jacques, please, let's allow Bragazzi to come in, and then we'll take all the questions at the end.
Good. That's a good idea. I'm sorry. Yeah, because we should.
Yeah,
I think. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Kong. So I'm going to stop sharing because I think some of the questions will be answered when Dr. Bragazzi is speaking, and of course we're available to answer any other questions near the end. Thank you so much.
Okay. Hello. Sorry, I'm gonna enable the screen sharing, so you can go ahead and share.
Okay, thanks. First of all, I apologize if you cannot see me. I have still a problem with my video camera that I was not able to solve. I will now share my screen so you can see. I should be able to see my screen now.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you so much.
Okay. So in this presentation, I will speak mainly about 2 points. The first is which criteria can be followed, can be used to make a proposal really strong, and how to move forward in the next steps of the process. So, what can make a proposal really strong? The first point that we want to emphasize is the geography. The proposal has to be based in the Global South and to be led by a team in the Global South. It must cover and address a priority for the Global South, and it should help advance the decolonizing research process. In other words, the proposal should be locally based, informed, relevant, designed, thought, conceived, and implemented. Why we are specifying that the proposal should be based in the Global South? Because we have seen some proposals in which
your screen is not moving. Please, can you? Your screen is not moving.
No. I'm still on this slide.
Okay.
I was saying some applicants are from the Global North. Of course, this is allowed. So we allowed to include the members from the Global North, but we also noted that in some proposals, several members, several co-applicants were from the Global North. And we want a team to be representative of the Global South. So it can include somebody from the Global North, but the core of the team should be based in the Global South. Moreover, the topic should represent a priority for the Global South. And this is absolutely important. Indeed, for some of the proposals, we consider them eligible and we moved them to the next step, but we suggested to include more members from the Global South. The second point is the topic of the proposal. It should be in line with the research teams of our call for proposal, which is about early detection, early warning system, and mitigation and control of epidemics and pandemics, with artificial intelligence being the catalyst and the entry point. So priorities of the proposal should be SDG 3 and SDG 5, health for all, and gender equity and inclusion. And an important point is
Dr. Bragazzi, this is Jean-Jacques. Sorry, just so you know that the slides are frozen, we're still at the cover slide. So I'm not sure whether you're changing them, but of course we're excited about seeing your slides. Do you mind just trying to change? You are changing them. Yeah, they're frozen for me and for a number of people according to the chat.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe
to put it on a display presentation mode, maybe it will help.
And restart the share and restart the screen share.
Okay, I will do.
Yeah, restart the screen share. Okay.
So just a second.
It's not showing at this point.
Okay.
But you can, I think you can keep going, Nicola, because we will share the slides anyways with all participants. So you can keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
No problem.
Okay. Now you should see my screen. Now can you see the slides?
Yes,
Well,
we
it
can.
moved. Yes, so I think that might work. We are
Can
what
you
makes
see
a
the slide move?
Yes, it's moved.
Yes,
Perfect.
yes, Professor.
Okay, so I will briefly summarize the points. I was saying the geography based on the Global South, the topic, SDG 3 and SDG 5. And now I will talk about the engagement. So the proposal should leverage community engagement, and the applicants should engage with decision makers, knowledge users, and adopt a participatory approach. So we emphasize the concept of co-creation and co-design of the proposal. And it's very important to involve knowledge users in a way that the concept, the outcomes of the proposal are those expected by knowledge users. And another point is the team. The team should be qualified, and the principal investigator should be experienced, an experienced researcher. In some proposals, it seemed that the principal investigator was not experienced enough to qualify as such. And we asked for some of you to change or to propose another principal investigator. And another point which is important is the impact. The proposal should have high potential for achieving public policy impacts that can lead to improved population level health outcomes. Moving forward, which are the next steps of our call for proposals? The commitment. The team should be committed to start designing, developing and implementing the project, should be committed to have meetings on a regular basis, for example, monthly meetings, should be committed to organize workshops, conferences, events, organize a lecture series, and a website of the project. And all these points are important to achieve the ambitious goals of our call for proposals. And I thank you for your attention. And if you have questions, feel free to ask any question or any observation you may have.
Thank you so much, Dr. Prakazi, for such a presentation. You managed to summarize some really, really complex points because I think, as you can see from the comments section, people were asking questions already that you have already responded to. I'm noticing the question, but just to recap what he just said, he's calling for commitment, he's calling for a strong proposal, he's also calling for reminding us about the framework that we agreed upon, that it forms the core basis of the call for proposal. Without further ado, I will hand over to our AD, Professor Kong. Professor Kong, you can have the podium.
Thank you very much, Liswa. And thank you very much, Jean-Jacques and Dr. Prakazi. I'm just going to go over some of the things that we need here. There are three basic things that we need. But before I get there, I just want to remind everyone of what we're trying to form here and said we want this to be us co-creating it. And I'm going to go back to the question on the budget and what's written on the website. I was asked to JJ, the manager, earlier on when we started. But starting with who we are, it's a community of artificial intelligence, data scientists, any discipline that you may think about, policymakers, community experts, and partners who develop and apply and use qualitative tools to inform global health and clinical public health decision-making and operations in our various countries. Our ambitious vision, as you already know, which has been articulated over and over, is to foster an open and respectful collaborative forum for learning. That's why we emphasize that we'll be meeting regularly if you want to join this process. Knowledge sharing with the goal of improving the quality of analytical support offered to global health and clinical public health programs, especially in lower and middle income countries, but you may realize there are few upper middle income countries here. And advancing general global health and clinical public health research. In the overall process, there are three things that we need here. This entire next stage, we're building on what we have been doing so far. And that's why we mentioned the fact that we are co-creating this. And if you don't know, if you're confused at every stage, please reach out to us. We have a team in place that will meet with you and give you detailed information and help work with you. In the next phase, you realize that what we expect from you is the research design and methodologies, which my colleague, Dr. Bregazi, has actually gone over these, where we expect you to explain each specific objective, how you will achieve those objectives to enable an independent assessment of the proposal. You will see that this section should show how the research questions will be answered, including articulating relevant conceptual and theoretical frameworks that you have. For the proposal suggesting AI and data science innovation, proposals should highlight if the proposed work will be applying existing methodology or developing novel techniques. So this will be very, very important. You will equally see that we have asked for a theory of change, which I will break down as to what we want at this point. But in summary, what we want there is please map your objective backward to capture the necessary conditions and pathways that will be performed to achieve these goals. In particular, we want to start with the knowledge gap, and then the short-term, medium-term, and long-term changes that will take place to arrive at that final goal. Very important, so that we see that it aligns with this, and we see that we can work together to get all of us there. Then for the budget, which is something I will really spend some time to talk about, and we indicate the total available budget, and we indicate an Excel file, which is the typical file that IDRC uses, where you put the budget and the justification. I'll speak a little bit to that. Now, I want to go back to what I mean by theory of change. So I want you to take the knowledge gap. If you look at this example here, I don't mean that you look at this and just copy as it is, but exactly you build something like this. I built something on the overall goal of AI for PEP, but within your project, you build something like this. Where you start with the knowledge gaps, what are the various gaps that you have identified that you feel that you want to fill? Once you identify your knowledge gap that you want to fill, so basically for you to start research, there's a problem. Then you know what has been done within that field. Then you identify a gap that you want to fill. And then you tell us how you will fill that gap. So here, I want you to list those gaps that you have identified. Then list the end. Why do you really care about these gaps? Why do you care about this? Why will you be doing this? And then the various pathways that will get you to the overall goal that you have in mind. This is exactly, a diagram like this will speak to what we want, so that looking at this will speak exactly into what is it? What are the gaps that you're trying to fill? What is it you'll be doing? What will happen at the various stages towards getting you to the overall goal that you so desire, which is your overall objective? So this is what we mean by knowledge theory of change in this direction. You could write it anyway. I want to go to the budget. Now, in the website, it says that we will reevaluate after 3 years. There are phases. The reason why we said that is that everybody will propose a budget. Some things will say, I'm asking for $100. Now, at the onset, you must ask for the maximum budget that will take you 5 years, if you're going 5 years or 1 year or so. Then after 3 years, the proposal that are not aiming that are not delivering what they propose to do, we'll drop those out, and then we'll take the overall budget and add to the other proposal that are getting there. So the idea was the total budget, if everybody were to ask for the maximum budget, it will be that total amount. If people do not ask for it, after 3 years, we will not add money to those who are working on something that still need much more money to get what to get to the end goal. Now, some project will drop out based on the fact that along the way, oh, they finished what they were supposed to do very early. We hope that we continue as a community. This is a seed fund. We'll look for other funding, but let's stick to what we have here. If you drop out at the end, or the project may not be reaching out their goal, then at some point, it will be advised that we take the money and give to the other ambitious projects that are still going and still have much more to do. That was the idea. I'm sorry if that communication does not come out clearly on the website, but that's the idea there. In the budget treaty, please do ensure that the total amount, including the direct and indirect costs, no matter what, should not be more than the amount we have earmarked for 5 years. Along the way, the remaining amount of money will be redistributed into the other project, and this will be done in partnership with us. Once we form these, everybody will become a leader. We will be gradually replacing the board of trustees to replace it with the leaders from the various projects from the Global South once this is formed. And when that happens, we'll decide on what budget we have, how that budget can be redistributed. But at that point, we'll be sitting on the table making decisions by ourselves. At this point, there's a board of trustees that's making this, but gradually when we form this, things will change. Ensure that the total amount matches to the total amount for 5 years or less than that. And then we want the signature page at the end. Please do fill all of these and put a justification there. We plan to start by the first week of May, actually, the launch. We're currently discussing with IDRC and the various partners, WHO and other people that really care about this mission to see how we can find a suitable time that works for everyone, including WHO and other partners, that will be available on me so that we launch this first week of May or second week of May. I know it's a very busy month for the WHO, but that's the plan. We will hope to have your proposal by the 31st, given that there are only 3 things that we want: a diagram, a budget, and just how you plan to fill the gaps that you had identified. So all these 3 things can be done. If you can submit this for us to really move fast, if we can get this by the 31st, that would be great. Again, is it rigid? We are co-creating this. We understand if it's the colonial way that people cannot, then we discuss. But the hope is that if we really want to just move as fast as possible, please, let's get this in by the 31st if we really want to get this going. Again, I'm not saying that if we cannot, then we shouldn't have a conversation because we are co-creating this, but let's ensure we have this by. And then the announcement should be made. If we get this by the 31st, the reviewers are already on standby to have everything reviewed within a week or so. So we have been having meetings with them and that will be done. What would the reviewers be looking for? This is a form that they will fill. When they start immediately, the quality of the project, whether it's excellent, very good or so, and that's how the ranking will be done. The qualifications of applicant, project feasibility, is it feasible? And will it be done within a timeline? Is it not just a project that can be done one time? Probability by which the likelihood outcome of the project could improve practice in the field. This will be taken care of. This will be looked into. Probability by which the likely outcome could contribute to research in the field. Plan for dissemination, very, very important. We want to ensure that knowledge dissemination is a key. This is done for communities. Those communities need to be part of it. And then overall assessment of the project. Going from there, so this is the comment that will give quality of the project or proposed plan. Participatory and knowledge users. So we want to ensure that, well, is there a knowledge user knowledge user that will use the work that you are proposing? Is it participatory enough? Did the knowledge user take part? Is there community engagement? And all one of those aspects will take place. Again, we're not saying that if your project does not require community engagement, you should include that. No, that will be, we will consider that accordingly. Then qualifications of the applicant, project feasibility, probability. So they will comment on all of these. After they tick all of that, they will write comments here generally. And these are the comments that the board of trustees will now use these comments to decide to rank the project. And then again, we'll ensure that there's regional balance, very, very important. Regional balance, but we will gender balance as well. But we do ensure that we'll take all of this ranking and then have a conversation once we get this back from the reviewers. Again, please do join us. Even if the project do not end up working, there will be funding from elsewhere We are currently having conversation with a lot of different people, reaching out to a lot of different people to sponsor some of the project. So we'll be reaching out to you. Join us in our seminar series that we have weekly, the training committees that we'll be creating, the data and technical resource committee that we'll be creating, the podcast, social media and website committee that we're creating. Please do join us. This is a community, like we said earlier on. Thank you so much, and merci beaucoup à tous.
Can we please look at the chat box, because are we suggesting to extend the timeline to the 7th of April, and it's been seconded by other participants. 31st March is extremely tight for us because we have a consortium, and you know how it works, right? The connection is not always great, so we're working in collaboration with several partners. So would you be considerate to give us in this co-creation process the timeline to 7 April? Thank you.
Yes, please. That would be great. We will definitely do that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for Professor Kong for your eloquent presentation. You have really nailed it down. It's very important that, you know, we work it backwards and make sure that the theory of change is very visible. We also know that there's a budget concerned. He's also laid out that we need to break it down in terms of year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, and year 6. From us, the AI for PEP team, we are really proud to work with you, and we look forward to supporting the work that you do. I saw that there are people who have a lot of questions, and I've been taking their hands. But you can also use the chat box for some of you who prefer to use the chat box. Now it's the time for questions. You can ask based on what JJ, Jean-Jacques, or what Dr. Bragazi or what Dr. Kong said, and we will be happy to provide guidance. I will just call the hands on the order in which I received them. We have Mary Manali. Mary Manali will be followed by Peter Kimpalume. Peter Kimpalume.
Hi, thanks so much for this workshop. So I'm from the research team from the Philippines. I don't know how many applications you received from the Philippines, and I'm the principal investigator for the proposal. But I have questions because our team is very non-traditional in terms of research and experience and background. But I'm from the Global South. I'm Tagalog. I'm from the Philippines. I'm a woman, and I'm the only woman in our team. So they nominated me as the principal investigator, and I think that fits with your with AI for PEP's goal to address the power imbalances, especially in AI, right? Because AI is a very manly, like it's a man's field globally, and here as well. But the thing is, I get worried because when you say experienced PI, I'm experienced in a sense that I'm a speech and language pathologist as well. I'm a clinician. I have 10 years of experience. I have a master's degree, but I don't have a PhD. And I'm not tied to a university right now, but my affiliation would be a grassroots STEM advocacy group here in the Philippines. So will that disadvantage our proposal if I'm the principal investigator?
Thank you for your question, Mary. Please, can we just try to keep it short and straight so we can allow more time for interaction? But otherwise, we do appreciate. So your question is on whether or not it's required for us, whether we require the PI to have a PhD. Was that the question? Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Jude.
So thank you so much. I really appreciate your question, and I really love about the power imbalance when it comes to AI. And I'm glad that you are taking the leadership. You were not nominated because you're a lady. You were nominated because you're qualified, you're talented, and the team saw in you that leadership, and so they wanted you to lead. It's very essential. So if the PI, the funding needs to go to where the PI is best. And so it will be very essential that, again, we mentioned earlier on that when it comes to civil society organization, NGOs, we will send funding on a case-by-case basis, which means we need to look at the risks and everything before we consider that. But that will be taken into account. We will not eliminate the proposal because you don't have a PhD, because you're not in a university. If there is any problem, if the proposal is very strong enough, the problem will be based on whether there's a risk sending money to where you are based. Again, that will be based on the documents that we have, but we'll reach out to you and that conversation will take place. I don't know if I answer your question, but we are not going to treat you based on whether you have a PhD or not. We're looking at the project as a whole. But if you look at what we wrote there are conditions for us, for somebody to be a PI. So if you meet all those conditions as written on the website, on the question and answer session, then there should be nothing to worry about.
Okay, so I think I got it. But before I let you go, so you're okay with this because in the feedback, it seems like a glowing feedback to me, and there was no question about my qualifications. But you're not suggesting any change. I can still be the lead and submit.
If you check our question and answer section, you see who can be a PI. If you meet those criteria, then you're qualified. I don't know if you meet those criteria, if the reviewers did not actually, I didn't look at your proposal, if the reviewers did not see that there's a problem with that, I don't think there's a problem because they were very, we have a very intensive review process. And I think that if they went through it and saw no problem, there should be no problem. But if they did, they will have communicated that with you.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Manali. Can we move on to Peter Kimpalume?
Thank you, Lisa. I have got more straightforward question. So when you click on the link for the application, again, it starts off with the very information that we started with phase 1, and then the very information that is started with phase 2. This is what you want us to do, or there is a shortcut to the next level? So the next question is on the budget. So can you explain how you treat students, student institution, and student stipend? Because we are at the university and we are going to recruit particularly female students so that we improve AI skills amongst females. So will that be personnel or will that be other costs? Can you explain based on how you do it with this budget, with this proposal? Thank you.
Jude, do you want to take it?
Sure. Is a question on how you will handle the budget. There will be, if you look at the personnel, if you go under personnel there, or if you go under, let me just get up on the form here to show you an example of how you feel that, if that's okay with you, just how you get that going. A sample of a form I filled before this type of form.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. You may proceed. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so if you go under personnel, you'll be able to put whatever you'll be doing there, depending whether they're personnel or students. So if you open to that form, have you click on that Excel sheet, you'll find personnel there, you'll find researchers. So if the students are coming as researchers, depending on who they're coming in, then you should be able to put that information there and justify there on the other side of it. Let me see if I should share that. Let me see if I have a file to share with you. Reach out to me, I will send you a file that if you look at the form and there's any problem, please do send me an email. Let me send you a template on how you complete those portions on personnel and researcher. I don't know if you have seen the Excel sheet that is on the website.
No, we haven't gone. I haven't gone further into the application.
Take a look at the Excel sheet first. Take a look at the Excel sheet first. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Right, and then the other thing on the link, so we got to fill everything as we did for phase 1 and 2.
There are 3 things only here. This is so easy, much easier than phase 2 actually. Just 3 things. Just your methodology, theory of change, and budget. That's it. Nothing much. So easy. And we should extend the deadline to the 7th. But I thought this is so easier than the first stage. But we can extend the deadline to the 7th.
Thank you so much, Professor Kong. I think it's just mainly anxieties. It's the final stage. So we are thankful for the extension. So now you have until the 7th of April. Can we take a hand from Curtis Charles? Curtis Charles, followed by Ibrahima from Senegal. Charles, are you here?
Hi, Professor Khan. Hi, good morning. Hi, good morning, Professor Khan. I just have one quick, simple question. The budget, are we planning for the 3 years or are we planning up to 5 years? I wasn't really clear on the explanation of that. So if you could give us a little bit of clarity, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charles. Please plan for 5 years. So if you check the website, you see that the project should be ambitious to last for 5 years. Plan for 5 years. So what we are saying is that the remaining budget will be redistributed, but that decision will be made based on the board that will put in place. So we'll be replacing the board of trustees with people from the project because we want the team to own it. Right now, there's a managing temporal board that's looking at things, handling everything, making these decisions. But once we form these, all of us here will own it. So the board of trustees will make a decision ourselves. So plan for 5 years with the budget that we have, assuming that everybody that we take is going to go for 5 years. The budget is going to be fixed as it is. But what we are saying is that some people will ask for less budget, and then that budget will be redistributed. But that decision will not be made by me alone as executive director, or by JJ as a manager, or by Nicola as chief scientist, but it will be made by the board of trustees. And that board of trustees will be replaced once we form the network by people from the Global South.
Nicola, I'm going to give this one to you. Someone is asking about the reviewer scoring sheet. What are the relative words of the items that are listed?
So the question is about which items are taken into account by the reviewers.
Mm-hmm. Basically, I think this person is asking for our criteria and how much time they need to dedicate towards basically the theory of change or the budget. I think that's part day one.
By the way, this one, as we move on, I want to move that we extend this meeting to 30 minutes. I want to get all questions answered. This is a very crucial phase. We need to get all questions answered. If it is okay with everyone, I will move that we extend this meeting by 30 minutes. Is that okay?
Can we have seconders?
Okay.
Yeah, can we have seconders?
It's okay. Oh. It's okay. Please extend. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nicola.
Yes, thanks. Now, as I said, the reviewers will assess several points: the relevance, the novelty of the proposal, the compliance with the aims and the scope of the call for proposal, and also the expected, anticipated impact of the proposal in the country or in the group of the country. And yes, so basically we will assess the quality of the project. It's important that it is novel, original enough. The methodology is scientific sound. We will also take into consideration the applicants, but this will be done on case-by-case basis. So I want to emphasize there are no formal criteria like to have or not to have a PhD. Of course, we are aware that there may be some specific features that can vary country by country. So we will base our assessment on the specific context of the country. But I think the feasibility of the project is much more important. So if the question was which criteria are more important, the quality of the project, the feasibility of the project, the expected outcomes, and then the qualification of applicant, if we have to rank the criteria.
Thank you so much, Nicola. There is someone who's asking about comprehensive results of the evaluation. They are saying that it will be essential to further guide them on how to improve their submission. I don't know, because we already provided for this section, some of you will realize that we did provide you with feedback, which was a very tedious process, but we felt that you deserve to know how far you are going now that you got into the development stage. My own perception, my own biased perception would be that perhaps this person was from the applicants that were notified at a later stage in terms of their outcome. And, you know, we may have not been able to provide the pool that was taken during the second evaluation, but you may perhaps just want to review all that has been provided here. I don't know if anyone from the team wants to add on that. JJ, do you want to add on that in terms of how the evaluation process is able to guide them further?
Okay, thank you so much, Lizwa. So I'm not really sure that we can share the actual evaluation sheets, right? You do have the evaluation criteria published. You have access to them on the website. We've also done the workshops. So we have constraints from an institutional perspective, right? So my sense is you will not get the individual evaluation sheets from the reviewers because that stays anonymous, and we have constraints on the institutional side. However, you are able to ask us questions, right? As part of this call such as this, and you're able to reach out to us on a one-on-one. And that's probably more useful anyway, because we can provide more context. So I think that's probably the best approach. And of course, there's a lot of you, right? So that would also be not very manageable given that we're moving timelines and we still want to meet our announcement deadline, which I'm sure you'll support.
Thank you so much. Someone else just sent me a question about an email address that they changed. And this reminds me that we've been working, you know, among ourselves, we've been communicating amongst ourselves as a team, because there are some people who may have listed their you know, country within a wrong region. It's very important that when we key in the information on the form, make sure that your email address is spelled correctly, make sure that you are locating yourself within the right region. And whenever you write to us to follow up or to say anything, please make sure that you also cite your entry number. The entry number will help you. It will help you, and also it will facilitate and ease in terms of us getting to, you know, to your proposal. Because once you cite your entry number, then I know where to find the information that you're looking for, and I know where to find the feedback that you may be looking for, the guidance that you're looking for. So let's work with the entry numbers going forward. I'll open up for Adriana Santoro, and then he'll be followed by Mohammed. Adrian and Mohammed, you have the floor.
Hello, this is Mohammed. Maybe I can come first.
Sorry, Mohammed.
I'm saying, can I come first? Can I ask my question?
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm from Rwanda. My question, it was not clear about the collaborator from the north. Like, how many do you think how many number can we keep in a proposal, or is there any proportion that is well defined in terms of the team member?
Yeah, maybe I can take that one, Lizwa. So the principal investigator should be from the Global South, and the majority of the team should be from the Global South. And the concern, like the actual project, should be of a concern that's in the Global South, right? So you may have a Global North, you know, advisor or team member, but this is really for the Global South. So obviously, you know, it's hard to answer your question without having, it's hard to say yes or no without looking at your file. But for sure, the principal investigator should be in the Global South. The project should be run in the Global South. The funding should be spent in the Global South. So hopefully this gives you clearer direction. If you need more details based on your particular application, as Liz will propose, cite your number, send us an email, and then we can go through it. But this is probably, hopefully this is good guidance.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, JJ. I want to nuance this point further, and maybe I'll also invite Nicole to weigh in on it, because Nicole and I specifically spoke about, you know, the issue of proposals wherein you find that the PI is in the Global South, and you find that most of the members are predominantly, the research team members are predominantly in the Global South. I know that JJ has addressed this, but I just want to open up for Nicole, because it's an experience that we picked up on some of your applications. Dr. Brogazi?
Yes, thanks a lot as well. Yes, there were a few applications in which the principal investigator was based in the Global South, but most of the team was based in the Global North. Now you can have an advisor from the Global North, but to have, I don't want to say the entire team, but most of the team based in the Global North is something that doesn't help synchronize the research. So we suggest to have a team, the majority of which is strongly based in the Global South, which one, two maximum advisors from the Global North.
May I add that not necessarily advisors, co-applicant colleagues, we are learning together. They're not advisors, they are co-applicants. I mean, equally add that we are not saying that the people from the Global North should be replaced, just that we have 6 more additional numbers that will be added to this application. So earlier on it was 9. We've extended the number to 15. If there is a way to have people that are based in the country where the project is being implemented, during that, we will appreciate that. Again, that was not a condition, but that is something that raises an alarm whether the people will be based on the ground to be able to execute the work.
Thank you so much, Professor Kong. And I think, Professor Kong, in as much as we may say that it was not initially a criteria, but it was implied, because we are just bringing development to the Global South. We want to co-create. We want to enable ideas that are in the Global South to drive. So hope we understand each other. And we had written for some applicants, we specifically wrote it on their emails, and I think that's where the question comes from. Thank you so much for that question. I'll hand over to Mohammed. If Mohammed is still not here, there's someone from University of Nigeria, and then we have K Badu. Mohammed, University of Nigeria, and then K Badu.
Oh, K Badu is ready. K Badu is ready if you want me to go.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. I was happy to hear about the theory of change. Just 2 questions. One, so the information that we provided in the LOI, which has been repeated here, are we supposed to ignore it completely because you are not going to look at it, which means that even if I want to edit or I want to reorganize my specific objectives and things like this, the reviewers are not going to look at it, so I should not touch them and only concentrate on the methodology and the theory of change and budget. This is my first question. My second question is, we have a consortium between Sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia, and I believe both are described as Global South. I need this confirmation, such that whatever we are co-creating, the numbers and the agenda that we have, we are not going to say that, well, because perhaps the country in the Southeast Asia is better than the country in Sub-Saharan Africa. And so this is a North-South collaboration, but this is a South-South collaboration. I need a confirmation that this is recognized, that these are both South-South collaboration. These are both local and the collaboration and whatever we do is recognized as such. I need that confirmation. If the countries in Southeast Asia are not recognized as Global South, then of course we know what arrangements to make before we submit. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the question. I think you just responded to your own question, but I will hand over to my colleagues to take it. Jude or Nicola, do you want to say something to add on this?
Yes, I want to add on the first question about whether things should be replaced in the proposal, because you got the PDF back. So we want the complete file, but obviously there is nothing to change in the other ones apart from changing the number of core applicants. So it will still be the same information, but we would like to have it there so that everything is complete as the reviewers read it, because at times when you're reading something, you want to go back again to look at the objective. So we need still the complete file. If you do not have your PDF, which I think everybody got the PDF when they apply, let me know. But I think everybody got it. So just copy from the PDF. And I didn't mean to add work to Liswa, that Liswa should start sending PDFs to you, but I know everybody got a PDF back. Copy from the PDF and just put it back there and ensure that you increase the number of applicants. We have expanded the number from 9 to 15. Then the new thing is just the methodology, which is different. And then the budget, which is just filling that Excel sheet and attaching it, and then the theory of change, which is come up with something, and that's it. But still, we need everything there. Then the second question about South-South, yes, South-South collaboration is encouraged. It's a community that we are forming. We're meeting regularly, and so it will still be part of it. So that's encouraged. That will not be treated differently.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Kang. I think that was clear. Someone from University of Nigeria, AI for PEP, University of Nigeria.
Good evening from Nigeria. There is Joel. First of all, I want to start with commendations. A lot of commendations for Jude and the team. I think this is the first time we're seeing such a program where people are led throughout the project cycle, preparing the proposal. So it's so nice. I want to thank the team for leading us. It has made it easier. My question will, come from two parts: in the methods and the budget. First, in the methods, are we allowed to include the work plan and activities so that it can be trackable? Because sometimes when writing the methodology, sometimes you find out that IDRC will want to have a distinct work plan. Is it adoptable here that shows your activities, your outputs, your outcomes, so that it can be trackable with respect to the months? So sometimes there is a work plan template that is given so that people do not just give any template. So would there be a provision for such template? I think it's necessary. And then you have a budget. Under the budget, I know there are allowable expenses by IDRC. Will international travel be allowed for this project? Because some may want to fuel an international travel. And so we want to know, is it allowable? And then what will you allow for training, under training, and what will you allow under research? Finally, will there be, for partners, maybe there are tech partners in the team, will you allow sub-grants to those tech partners for development? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for such an important question that speaks to the methodology and just laying things out. Dr. Prakazi, please take this question and run with it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the question, which is much appreciated. Yes, I think that if you want to provide objectives, output, outcomes in a way that they can be tracked, this is absolutely something that we highly recommend you to do. And you spoke about a template. There is no template. You can use the template that you like. And if you can provide a list of things that you want to deliver in a way that they can be tracked, this is absolutely nice.
And thank you so much. Let me follow up with that with the other remaining question about the training and the sub-grantee to partners and reliable travel. Yes, basically, this is a community that we're forming. We'll be meeting every year. So do make a budget for at least 1 yearly travel, international travel. We'll always pinch IDRC to sponsor some of those trips if the money is run short, but let's account for these. But again, we are forming a family, so we always say, if we're running short of money, can we reach out to the IDRC and get much money for any conference that we're organizing? But do ensure that every year we should travel to one continent or one country, one of the countries in a continent, to have a workshop there to meet and get to know each other, because we're forming a community. So that's very important. Now, when it comes to the training and research, so training and research, you train student researchers to do research. So if they're doing research, it's still the same thing. For instance, in my training, I use my money for the postdocs, right? I use it for grad students that do the work. So it depends on how you define training in that sense, because research is still training. So it'll be very important to know the difference, what you mean there, and that will be based on justification that you provide. And if there's anything, we'll always reach back to you to say that, please, can you clarify this, since we are co-creating this together? Can you sub-grant money to partners for development? It depends on what you mean sub-granting. Again, if somebody is part of the project, the money will be sent to the university in question. We expect a report from that place where the money is sent to. Within your team, it will be based on you making decisions, but not that you are answerable. York University is answerable to IDRC, and York University requests a report from you so that they put on their own report. So your university may have a way to handle this. So I will leave it to your local university to make a decision around this. But again, it's a family that we are forming. You're a leader. You know how to lead your team. It will be based on you on how you want to lead your team. I don't know if I answered the question, but I hope I did.
Thank you so much, Professor Kong. I think that was eloquent. At this point, I just want to acknowledge questions. It's a couple of questions from folks who were asking for templates. Can I commit that we will send you the templates? Professor Kong shared some templates. Those are already embedded in his presentation. So relax knowing and rest assured that we will share the templates with you. I will open up for Peter Hede and then Isabella.
Hey, thank you very much. Yes, Peter Hadawi from Mahidol University. I just have two simple questions. One, the sections on research design and methodologies and theory of change don't specify length limits. So is there any limit to the length of those sections? And my second question is that, as Kingsley Badu mentioned, our project involves two institutions, both of which are in the global south, and the teams are about equal in both institutions. Concerning disbursement of funds, can the funds be dispersed directly to both institutions, or does one need to subcontract to the other? So those are my two questions.
I'm gonna give this one to JJ.
Oh, thank you, Lizwa. Okay, so I just want to understand, you have a team distributed across two institutions in two countries, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
And so you have one principal investigator, not two.
Well, we could have one or two, honestly. I mean, right?
Okay, so let's take that. So let's discuss this then. Why don't you contact me, okay? And we can decide, because there's a lot of, if you could have one or two, right? then send me an email today, and then let's have a conversation, because there are mechanics about who we have contribution agreements with. So the answer vaguely is that we could go either way. But when we talk about the specifics, you and I, we may find that it's more advantageous to you to either have one of the universities accountable for both, or to have them separately, but it will depend who they are and where they are, right?
Okay,
So,
okay, very good.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you. I'll send you an email. And then the other question, just the simple one, you know, most of the sections, well, they're actually from the LOI specified length limits, but those 2 sections don't say anything about the length of the proposal. Is there any limit to the length?
May I jump in to say that's a typo? We'll add that length. Thank you so much. And then reach out to JJ for the budget. But just to be clear, as we discussed with JJ, will be clear that our agreement will be with the host university where the PI is located. Whether the PI, you be a leader at a local university, but JJ will provide you more information on that. Our agreement will be with the host university where the PI is located, and that's the only place where we'll sign a sub-grantee agreement. That's the only university we'll sign a sub-grantee agreement with. So it will be based on your leadership now on the floor to decide on what you want to do, but JJ will provide you more information about that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Some people were asking,
Isabella.
Okay, go ahead.
Isabella.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the extension. We are quite pleased with that. I have 3 short questions. One has been mentioned, but please, I still need some clarification. The one for review of letter of intent, maybe those of us that you had said there will be 3, there were 3 reviewers, and maybe we got the review thereafter a little later. There must have been some shortfalls or some weaknesses that were in those letter of review. I have a feeling that we may carry these same weaknesses or shortfalls to our proposals. I really think that we may need to have some details of what was it so that we could strengthen the proposal. The second one is the area of gender. Is the gender aspect on the membership or on the population or on both? The final one is on the aspect of budget. When it comes to indirect costs, is it what that institution has in the policy of what it calls indirect cost, or it's you have a higher margin for it, a fixed amount? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isabella. 3 very important questions. I will split the questions. There's one question about gender, and there's one question about the budget, and there was one question about, I may have missed that one, Isabella.
Review, you see the letter of intent.
Oh, yes, yes, oh, yes, the review. First question on the review, I have a proposition, because I don't think it may be practical for us to go back to all the people who were accepted in the second round and give them their feedback, their personal feedback. But can I recommend and bring you on board, colleagues, that we offer a summary, a general summary of the weaknesses that we found from the proposals that made it to the second poll? Is that a fair way just to highlight how, you know, the feedback could be, or areas where people may need to strengthen?
You know,
that's what we want. That's what we would like.
But there's constraints to that, right? I just want to, I mean, it's better for us to have the conversation in-house. There's constraints to that, because there are constraints related to liability from a university or York University perspective, right? Like what we can really do is what we're doing right now, right? Which is to have these information sessions, but understand we have 169 people on the call, and we can't commit to send you what your weaknesses are in writing, right? Because we're exposing our reviewers from that perspective. I think we need to find a more one-on-one way to do that. So I think everyone on this call can understand that, you know, we are working for an institution, right? We have a legal department, and we are doing this as decolonized as we can, right? But we do need to manage the risks. So unfortunately, you need to take notes in these meetings, and you always have access to us. You can email me, you can email Professor Kong, you can email Lizwa, you can email the whole team, and we can talk through what we're recommending. But we can't guarantee you that if you do A, B, and C in writing, you will absolutely get the funding. That exposes us from a liability perspective. Okay, so thank you so much for the question.
I may add that if you need help on, because I doing this from a decolonial perspective, if you need help on building your structure, you can always reach out to our chief scientist, who is always willing to help you, to guide you on what you may need to, or how you should think. Please always reach out if you need that help. Send him an email. He may respond to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then there was a question from a gender perspective. Isabella, thank you for that question. In terms of the gender is basically part of the core requirements of core criteria of this core. You will notice that we've been making an emphasis on SDG 3 and SDG 5. SDG 3 is about well-being, health and well-being, and SDG 5 is about gender equality. So this should be reflected both in the composition of your team, as well as on your impact, as well as with the data that you are working with, your analysis, basically. I think in some of the wording, we had mentioned that we want a gender-based analysis of the work you do to see how it's impacting different populations disproportionately. And then in terms of the review, I think you just got answered. I'll open up for colleagues to make additions where necessary.
By the way, there was a workshop that Nicola, our chief scientist did on how you could consider gender aspect in your design and methodology. Please, I will refer you go back to those gender questions, but it's not about the diversity of the team alone, like this what I mentioned. It should be in your methodology, it should be reflected in your methodology, in your design and everything of your research, gender and sex. The budget, there's 13% overhead, like I had indicated before, so IDRC allow a 13% overhead, maximum of 13% overhead. If you check the website, you may find detailed information there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Isabella. I'll move on to David Taylor, and then Adeni Kipelo. Is David here? Okay, let's move on.
Can I come in?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. It's afternoon by my time here in Nigeria. I'm Nika Bello from Lautech, Nigeria. I want to commend the team for a job well done, your review, assessment, and your availability when we need any cross-checking. And I commend the team for that. Now, in your response to us, you told us that we are going to be merged. I'm sorry I came late. I was attending a meeting. So I didn't know whether that was mentioned in the presentation. You told us that we are going to be merged with other teams in Nigeria working on the same health issue. So I don't know how we want to go about this. And I want you to advise us on that. Then my second question has been flugged. Is about the flaws, our flaws and strengths of the letter of intent that we wrote. We'll have loved to have a meaning explanation of what are the flaws and what are the strengths of our write-up. This will have helped us in writing our proposal. But you have given some explanation, and we have been told that we can always contact you if we need any clarification, and I think I'm okay with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adenike. I'll give this one to Jude. Jude, there's the question of collaboration, and I think you.
Yeah. I want to just go straight to answer that question about how do you build a consortium with your country. Now, what we were saying was that at some point, if countries can team up, we will be willing to put that together. We will, yes, in the final phase, what we'll do is that we'll look at a generic topic, we'll group into topics and into regions, and we'll reach out to say, we are not going to reveal people's name, but we just say there are teams that are working on this particular topic. There are teams, this topic, we feel that this topic is linked to this particular one. Our chief scientist is already working on that. And then before even the final phase, immediately as you submit the final phase, you will hear from him to have those conversations, whether there are teams that want to merge. Again, we are not going to ask teams to merge. We're not going to ask teams to form consortium. It will be a matter of choice whether you want to work together. We will judge the applications as they are. It will be a suggestion that we work together.
Thank you so much, Professor Kong. I'll move on to Professor Sodia. Professor Sodia, go ahead, and thank you for your patience.
Okay, thank you so much, Lisa, for the work the team is doing. I want to join other people in appreciating you. I actually sent a mail to you yesterday complaining that I didn't get the mail of approval to go to the next stage as the PI. I don't know whether that was intentional. I've also raised it today, and I've not gotten any response to that. Secondly, I have put about 2 questions on the platform. One of them is the fact that whether we can increase the number of members in the team, or I think I've gotten response to that. The other one is that is also important for this meeting is that in preparing the research methodology, are there expectations on how we go about it? Or is there a document or is there a sample that we can look at as guide in preparing methodology that will be acceptable by you? I think that is my concern.
Thank you so much, Professor Sodia. We appreciate your questions. On the issue of the PI, it may be possible that you may have changed your PI before. And unfortunately, your email came at a time where we were prioritizing the sending of invitations to applicants that came through our second round of acceptances. So it may not have been a priority, but also please kindly note for everyone to note that we rely on the information that we were given by you initially, and that's what we are relying on. But we are also open to any changes that you may have, that you may suggest along the way. For instance, someone wrote today to say that they changed their emails from what they had initially submitted. So we are welcome to that. Please be patient with us as we make all those changes. There are a lot of moving parts, but we are committed to assisting you. Then there's a question, your other question was about methodology and templates. I think that has already been responded to. You will find the templates from Professor Kong's presentation. All these slides will be shared with you afterwards. Maybe we can move on and take another question from Ian Fellow and Celia Bry, in that order.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's so lovely to be here. I'm so glad to actually meet this lovely, great mind. I love the idea of how Professor Jude and the team I've been reiterating the fact that a community is actually the goal, and developing Africa, the colonizing it is actually also the goal. So I've got two questions real quick. And the first question is to understand, do you have a platform where we as researchers can reach out to one another Actually, I'm from Nigeria. I mean, where we can have communications. I don't know if we already have such established platform, or maybe a groups, or maybe WhatsApp or Telegram. I'm not too sure. So that's the first question. I'm trying to link that to the community aim, right? Now the second question is what team I am a part of and what we represent. So on my team, we are a group of persons from the industry and from the academic background, and we actually are into. I mean, we have also a health startup, and I wanted to actually know if you have any special advice for us, because we received mail that we qualified for the next stage. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We appreciate the suggestion to have an online platform. I think you may know that we've been moving on phases, and it would be unfair for those who don't make it to the final stage to be added to platforms. I think when we have established everything, we will consider having a platform where researchers, where members and consortia can exchange information, because this is about sustaining what we have already built. But I will open up for my colleagues to say something. I think we already responded to the other question that you asked. Jude?
No, since we have answered, I think you answered correctly. I think the idea of the platform, yes, right now until from the community, it's we can only link people when they agree that we link them up, because it may not be advisable to link them up on the emails. That's why we keep them still private. Yep. And then I think we should move to the next question. And the other thing, issue of feedback. I think I want to go back to that question on that particular feedback. Please, if you do need more information, reach out to our chief scientist. Can you share?
Okay. I'm sorry, because I think I omitted something from my questions about the advice I actually need. Well, the question is more about the roles of the person that is included as reviewers in stage 1. I want to know where do they actually come into I mean, do they fit into into any process in the execution stage, and since they have not been requested? Sorry, I'm just trying to understand what roles the reviewers are going to play. Is it in the final stage or something?
I understand your question. So I just want to note that we're at 10:34, so we're now running over time of the extension. But I do want to just answer, because I think my understanding is you're saying, look, you provided 3 names for reviewers in phase 1, and you want to know how they fit in. That's the question, right? And the answer is that so we need a small subset of this group, right? We wanted to get as a pool for many candidates, and they will be involved in the review of the final proposal, right? So that's what their role is. I also want to acknowledge your beautiful sentiment at the very top of your intervention, which is to recognize that what we're really trying to do is to develop a community. And as Lizwa and Professor Kong both said, we're trying to get this adjudication done, right? Because as you can see, it's very aggressive. Even you're asking us for extension. That means we're doing a good job, right? We're going as fast as we can so we can get you the funding, right? And you know, I'm already in conversations about different ways in which we can build platforms, but you know, even internally, we haven't even had the full conversations, because what's really important for us is to get the adjudication process completed. But you can expect that as soon as we have this process completed, we will engage you in many different ways. Like we have a podcast, so Professor Kong showed us this earlier. We have some what we call knowledge mobilization channels, blog posts. So you're going to be, we hope, we are going to be as a larger group in touch all the time, right? But let's get this money out, right? Which is what we're trying to do.
Thank
right?
you so much.
I don't know how you want to handle the time constraint. Maybe the rest can be done offline. I'll leave that to you.
Thank you so much, Jean-Jacques. I also wanted to appreciate that there are some chats, there are messages on the chats. I've read the messages that you sent on the chat, and I realized that a majority of them just require you to go back to the other open houses that we have had, the open, the briefing sessions that we've had. That information is still valid. This information is going to take you through the whole process. Like Professor Kong, we've shared resources with you in the past, and some of the questions that have been asked have already been responded to, and we have already provided you with a working framework of how to address those questions. I'll take the final question from Celia Bry, because I had already mentioned that she will come through, and then I'll have parting words from each of our team members before we call it a day. Celia Bry. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you all for this opportunity. My name is Silabri. I come from Burkina. In our case, you asked us to develop our proposal, project proposal. Do we continue filling in the new form while improving our project? Or should we review the letter of intent first? I see that the new form is the improved letter in intent with more question, the budget part, theory of change part, and more. And secondly, I want to know if in this stage it is possible to change the PI of the project. Thanks.
Please go ahead, Jude.
No, so to change the PI of the project, I think, yes, you can still change the PI of a project if there's something wrong with your current PI, but that needs to be an agreement between all the PIs so that we get notified that the PIs have been changed. Then with the information online on the form, if you look at the form is still the same. We just added certain components on the form. Nothing has changed. It's just the 3 things that we've added and the extra number. Please go over the form, is the same thing.
Thank you so much, Professor Kong. I apologize that I'm unable to take further questions at this point because of our time, but I think generally all the questions that were brought here have been responded to. And in cases where people still had further questions, you can email our programs manager. You can also email our chief scientist based on the nature of the question. But I'm also here, and Jude is here as well. We will be happy to help and support you. I will open up for Nicola to say their parting words. Dr. Pragazi?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks a lot. So thanks for everybody for attending this session. I hope you have found it useful. And should you have further comments, observations, do not hesitate to contact us. And we wish you all the best and success for the last step of this exciting process.
Thank you so much, Nicola. Jean-Jacques?
Thank you, Lizwa, and thank you everyone for attending this session. It's always a pleasure to see you and to interact with you, and I'm looking forward to interacting with you much beyond the adjudication process. It occurs to me that one way that we can help in terms of all these many other questions is to do a frequently asked question page, so I can take that on, team. Right, I'm going to set up a form that we're able to just have a frequently asked questions, and I'll do it so that folks are able to put their questions on one Google Doc, and then we can just answer them, so everybody gets the answers. Okay, so I know there's a lot of anxiety about maybe not having your question answered, or maybe you needed some more clarification. So I'm just going to propose that we'll send you like a Google Sheet link. and you'll be able to upload your question, and we'll do our best to answer it as quickly as possible.
Thank you so much, Jean-Jacques. Just to add on what my colleague just said, I just want to emphasize to you teams that, you know, before you answer a question, please ask yourself if this question has not been responded to before, because we do have, you know, online resources that we've provided throughout the different stages of the process, and would really, really encourage you to still rely on those. For those of you who were lucky to get, you know, like substantive feedback, please use that feedback and the resources that were shared, the insights that were shared today to develop your projects further. Otherwise, we are excited for this process and we can't wait to create some magic with you. I'll hand over to Professor Kong to say his parting shots.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Jean-Jacques. Thank you, Dr. Bregazi. So thank you everyone for spending the time with us, more than 1 hour of your time this morning, so that we discuss this and co-create this. It's very essential that we do this together. And I like that you took the time, patient enough, stayed here the whole time, and we're doing this together. This is not the only workshop that we're holding. It could be the only one that we formally asked to hold. But if there's a request for additional workshop because we want to co-create this together, please do reach out to us. If you are wondering how to go on with your research design methodology, you are not in this alone. It's a community. We're doing it together. Please reach out to our chief scientist. That's why we have a team in place to do this with you. If you think that whether your plan is ambitious enough or the type of team that you can bring in, the impact that you can create, please do reach out to us. We do emphasize that there should be a knowledge user. That is going to be vital in the final phase. We do emphasize that the work should be impactful. Again, there will be people in your country that can help you get into that, but it's very important that you lay that foundation. Now, as we move on, we have created a lot of committees. We don't expect that you join at this point, but we just want you to be aware that this exists in this community. There are a lot of different committees, the podcast, the outreach committee, the workshop. There will be a lot of these, and we would like you, even if you drop at the end, to join. The money we are giving is seed money, and we will be looking for a way to get more money so that we get the work going. There are a lot of different foundations that are already looking at ways by which they can come in to collaborate with us. We hope that together we'll find ways to bring this foundation, the Get Foundation, Bodnar, and other foundations that are looking at how they can support us to ensure that we have, together with the IDRC, we have communities like ours strengthen their healthcare system. I'm glad that you're taking the time to do this. And I hope that on April 7th, we can submit this and we get this going so that by the first week of May, we can launch the project. Thank you, everyone. I'm looking forward to building this together with you so that we work together and create the knowledge. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Please don't forget to follow our online pages and stay up to date on what is happening. We still have our speaker series, which is still ongoing as well. The best way to connect with us is through LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and we are on TikTok as well. Have a nice.
Can you share the social media platform before everybody leaves, please? It's very important that people connect with us. Can you share that here?
Okay.
Yes. And just as Liz was doing this, Professor Kong, I just put in the chat a link for a Google Sheet document where you can add your additional questions. We'll send this by email as well because a few people already left, but there's 131 people online right now. So you can just take note of the Google Sheet link, right? And you can go ahead and ask questions there as well, okay? And I'll maintain that. So I'll commit to the team that I'll maintain that just to make sure that all the questions are captured. And you can always refer back to that document if you have a question and maybe somebody already asked it and we already put an answer, okay?
Thank you so
please
much.
check this chat right now.
Thank you so much, Professor Kong. I'm going to send them a shot with everything, like for all our pages. I think that will save time.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, send an email to everyone. Thank you so much.
All right.
Take care, everyone.
Have a nice weekend.
Bye.